Hey, what's going on, YouTubers? This is Zen from Zen World, and I hope you're having a great day. So we are back with our Marvel vs. Capcom Forever series, and we have a wonderful matchup between Galactus from the Marvel Universe and also Ashura from Ashura's Wrath from the Capcom video game universe. So we're going to get started on a general snippet about their history and also their powers and abilities and a little bit of their personality and how they would match up. Then we're going to look at the Instagram voting system to see who did everyone vote for. And then I'll give my general analysis on who I believe should win the battle, and that's just personal. And I might go against the Instagram voters, so that's part of it. So let's get started with Galactus. So Galactus is the sole survivor of the sixth incarnation of the multiverse. Originally, Galactus was a humanoid, and his name was Galen. So Galen came from planet Ta or Te. So he's pretty. He comes from a different universe, and upon the destruction of his universe, he was able to go into incubation, kind of a chamber or a ship, which is named Lifebringer 1. Once that crossed over into the main 616 universe that we know, where all the superheroes reside, such as Spider-Man, things of that nature. And this is many thousands of years ago. He was able to go through that incubation, and it's now understood through Silver Surfer Black that that incubation actually fell in Ego, the living planet, and through that time period, he was able to eventually transform into who we know today as Galactus. And Galactus he's the devourer of worlds, and what that actually means, in order to sustain himself, he needs to devour worlds or planets in order to just continue. But what that also brings for the universe is a sense of balance. There isn't an overpopulation of different planets or species because Galactus eats them. Now, for many beings, they see that as he's bad, but just like any other natural disaster, it's not something that you could control, and sometimes it's often needed in order to bring some kind of balance. He is the yin to the yang, right? The light to the darkness, and he's needed in the everlasting life cycle, right? So it's not like when a lion is looking for a gazelle that the gazelle thinks of it is bad, but he tries to run. But it is the balance not for overpopulation when it comes to planet or resources. So Thanos would definitely love Galactus himself, right? So in terms of personality, Galactus doesn't really show any type of personality, and it's also believed that any planet that sees him sees a version of himself that's only reflective of the perspective of the race from that planet itself. Now let's talk about the powers, right? Because we know that Galactus doesn't really talk too much, nor does he say that much, only if he needs to communicate with his heralds who scout and look for planets that he could devour, essentially. Now, in terms of his powers, he has the ability to tap into the power cosmic, and that means a lot of different things. Energy projection, in terms of his cosmic awareness, meaning he knows what's happening around the universe just by sensing it. He has superhuman strength, and I wouldn't even say superhuman strength. He has super strength, right? Because human would be belittling him. He's actually, in a sense, to many beings, a god himself in terms of the powers and capabilities that he has. So he has a plethora of different abilities that would allow him to take on some of the most powerful foes in the whole entirety of the Marvel universe. He's gone against Thor, Odin, so many different characters, Spider-Man, and all the Earth villains, basically, from the Fantastic Four. And for the most part, they haven't truly beat him, but he's decided to leave them alone for the sake of something else, right? And for the most part, it could be another planet that he's decided to go eat upon, or a foe that's not really worth his time and effort. So that's the way the Galactus is. He is wildly powerful. Now, it's not something where you could just say like Spider-Man versus Galactus, right? It's not like that, because he's wildly powerful and he just doesn't really care for anything except for devouring worlds himself. The only inclination that I've personally seen him in terms of like a lot of verbiage and fighting is in the Ultimates, when he became the Lifebringer himself, but that's a different incarnation for him, so I'm not going to use that as the sole basis for this matchup. So we're just going to leave it at that, and now we're going to get into Ashura from Ashura's Wrath. So now getting into Ashura. So let me tell you the reason why I saved him for last. I'm a little bit biased in this matchup, and the reason why I'm because I played Ashura's Wrath. That game is amazing. Let me tell you, it's amazing. Now Galactus is amazing too, but for me personally, I played Ashura's Wrath, and it was one of the games that I seen a trailer for, and I was like, what is this basically? And the amount of just pure action is undeniably just amazing. But let's talk about Ashura in terms of who he is, his personality, and thus forth. So Ashura is pretty much a hot-tempered, stubborn demigod by nature, and also known for charging head-on into the enemy. Now, when the opening scene of the game is actually all of the demigods versus basically the planet Earth, and inside of the planet Earth, there seems to be like a bit Agoma, all right? Agoma is just basically kind of like the baddie or the bad guy in the actual universe. Now, just skipping along into it, so his daughter Mithra is his everything. Just like if for some of us who have kids, Mithra is pretty much everything, and Mithra, it was starting to be controlled by the other gods because of her priestess ability in order to just kind of siphon off energy, right? And give it to the demigods or the generals in that sense. So one of the things that about Ashura in particular is that his rage is everything. His wrath is everything. So if someone does something to his daughter, he's gonna go after them, and he's gonna make sure that there's destruction and chaos that is behind him. Now, something to note is that he is really powerful, but throughout the game and then throughout the years, we start off at kind of like a 12,000 years later, and then 500 years later, and then all the way up until time is constantly passing in terms of his seemingly reincarnation, but not reincarnation, but just awakening into who he is as a person, and his wrath for what's been done to his daughter and also his family. Now, where the first matchup or the first boss is against Wyzen. Wyzen is one of the generals, and to give you kind of a perspective of if power, one of Wyzen's ability is to enlarge himself while gaining I guess multiplying his power. And one of the movements that he does is Wyzen turns as big as way bigger than the whole entire planet. So his scale would be about like 4 planets, and he's standing above the planet, and he initiates his one finger, kind of like a Buddhist finger palm technique, all the way down to earth until Ashura, he catches it and is able to use movements and skill sets that allow him to fight off or stave off Wyzen's ability. So that's just to give you a little bit of understanding. But one of the highest feats that I would say through the game that you'll notice is that by the end of the game, or throughout the game, he goes through several transformations from Vahar, Ashura, all the way down to his final form, with the help of his daughter Mithra. Well, all of them receive some kind of help. So I'm not going to say that this is a cheat or anything, because they all receive some kind of energy, and this comes in the form of the mantra. So in Ashura's Wrath, you'll notice that some of the characters are humanoid, but they also seem to be robotic in nature. Now, there's no inclination that they were made, but we do understand that this is the acts of technology and even flesh are far beyond understanding at this point. So they're not looking at him as like a robot. All of the people on Earth look at him, and also all of the generals, as gods themselves, and which they actually are. But going back to the point about Ashura's transformation, lastly, he transforms into Ashura the Destructor. That's when he has full utilization of the mantra reactor in his core and absorbs all of the mantra that he possibly can, and utilizes it in his wrath. He at this point he is way bigger than the planet, just as big as Wyzen at this point, about 4 planets combined, toppling over all of these planets, and he's able to fight against someone, and the someone at the end of the game is actually the god of the Ashura's Wrath universe. So this is kind of like the pivotal point when I'm going to stop, because I start to get a little bit bias when it comes to Ashura's Wrath in this fight. So let's actually find out who won when we look at the Instagram post. And from this, we didn't get a full understanding about who won and why, but for most of everyone on the Instagram post, they did go to Galactus in terms of their winner. And for Galactus, he had 62%, and then Ashura for 33%. And now, I'm guessing that all of the people who voted had their various reasons. Some could have been biased as well, but I understand the concept because Galactus is wildly powerful. He is a god in himself, and he's a devourer of worlds. That's what he does. Now, what do you all think that I think about it? Now, for me in particular, I think Ashura is a sure win for this, and my simple reason for him winning is that he went against the god of his universe. And in terms of powers and capability, let me show you a quick clip. So while you just watch that quick clip, this is kind of the highlight of the reason for it, but I'm just enjoying the concepts of having the Capcom versus the Marvel characters in its entirety. So let me know what matchups you would like to see, but for this one, I want to go with Ashura, but the internet, in terms of my Instagram posts on Zen World, did choose Galactus. So I'm understanding and I'm giving gratitude to all the people who voted, but I want to know, who do you want to fight in the next one? So this is Zen saying peace, love, and prosperity, and today's winner goes to